Good morning. April 6, 2020, 1:46 AM, Monday. So, discussion ulit tayo sa MAS. Ang topic natin for this morning is performance measurement. Before that, pag-usapan muna natin ang responsibility accounting. Kasi connected siya doon. And with that, pag-usapan natin ang organizational structure. Dalawa yan. Merong centralization at decentralization. Sa centralization class, top management makes all major decisions and retains full authority and responsibility for the organization's activity. For example, ngayon, di ba, yung government natin, in-implement na lahat ng decisions in regard sa response ng COVID-19 will be with the national government. Ang LGU, susunod na lang. That is a good example of centralization. Yung top management na, yung mga nasa taas na, yung bahala sa mga mag-make ng decisions and they have the full authority to make so. Kasi nasa kanilang responsibility. Now, pagdating naman sa decentralization class, yung top management, it delegates the authority, the responsibility, and the decision-making rights to the subunit managers. So basically, pinapasa nila lahat ng ito, and ang gagawin na lang ng top management is to give them the necessary support, gaya ng fundings, and other stuff. So, decentralization, si top management ang bahala. Sa decentralization, it is delegated to the subunit managers. Sila na ang bahala. Sila na ang may responsibility. Now, advantages and disadvantages of centralization. Well, sa advantages sa personnel, anong mga advantages ito? Well, it trains and screen aspiring managers. Bakit? Kasi binigyan mo ng responsibility yung managers. Meaning, they're already experiencing, they're already being trained para malaman yung para ma-improve yung performance nila. So with that, kapag na-improve ang performance nila, may malaking chance na kung saan they will get to the top. Now, ito, develop leadership qualities, problem-solving abilities, and decision-making skills. Siyempre, what is a good teacher? Or what is the best teacher? The best teacher that a man can have is experience. So, if you will give them the opportunity or to be able to experience problem-solving abilities and decision-making, may improve yung performance or may improve yung skills ng subunit manager. Next is compare manager's result. So, makakompare mo sinong magaling sa kanila. And fourth is increase job satisfaction and job enrichment. Diba? Mas maganda sa feeling kapag ikaw kapag yung mahirap na trabaho is nagawa mo ng maayos. Job satisfaction, masarap yan sa feeling. And job enrichment. Second advantage is effective means of achieving organizational goals and reduce decision-making time. Anong meaning yan? Itong dalawa, magkadikit lang yan sila. Siyempre, class, yung mga nasa baba, yung mga subunit managers, alam nila kung anong nangyayari sa area nila. Mas alam nila kung anong nangyayari sa baba kasi nandoon sila nagtatrabaho. As compared sa knowledge na meron ng top management. Now, since mas alam nila kung anong nangyayari sa field, kung anong nangyayari sa area nila, mas alam nila kung ano yung proper response. Mas alam nila kung ano yung proper na gagawin. Kaya nakalagay ito, effective means and reduces decision-making time. Kasi since mas alam nila kung anong gagawin, siyempre, mas effective yung magiging result. Kasi alam nila mas may idea sila as compared kay top management. Kaya, itong dalawang to, advantages yan sila. Lalo itong reduced decision-making time. Kasi, kapag yung subunit manager na yung bahala, it lessens the bureaucracy. Hindi na kailangang hintayin pa yung magiging response ng top management. Now, fourth is allows management by exception. Now, sir, anong management by exception, sir? Well, itong management by exception, ang meaning lang nito, yung si subunit manager, magre-report lang kay top management kapag may nakita siyang discrepancies or lapses or major problems. Pero pag wala namang ganun, hindi required mag-report si subunit manager. So, ang advantage kasi nun, less ang time na mag-chit-chat sa mga unimportant stuff. hindi na kailangang disturbuhin ni subunit manager si top management kapag yung problema hindi naman malaki. Didisturbuhin niya lang ang time ni top management kapag masyado nang malaki yung problema. Kaya advantage siya. Kasi si top management hindi na magugulo. So, kaya advantage ang allows management by exception. Repeat ko lang si management by exception. Si subunit manager, magre-report lang siya kay top management kapag may malaking problema. Kapag wala, hindi na required mag-report si subunit manager. Yan si management by exception. No, siyempre, pag may advantages, may disadvantages rin. Si decentralization. First is lack of goal congruence. Now, ano ang goal congruence, class? Well, ang goal congruence, ang meaning lang yan, kung ano yung goal for the individual, ganun din yung goal kay company. Meaning, there's a unified objective. Iisa lang yung objective nila. Iisa lang yung target nila. Now, sa decentralization kasi, class, kanya-kanya yan sila. May individualism, kumbaga. So, because of that, mag-iiba-iba yung goals nila, yung separate objectives nila. So, dahil dyan, may lack of goal congruence. Walang unified objective, walang unified target ang organization dahil sa decentralization. Next is sub-optimization. Pursuing the subunit's manager's goals instead of the company's goals. So, connect lang yan kay lack of goal congruence. Mas pinaprioritize pa ni subunit yung pansarili niyang objective kaysa sa kung ano yung objective ng company. So, pasok lang yan kay lack of goal congruence. Third is requires more effective communication skills. Now, since the authority, the responsibility, and the decision making is delegated to the subunit managers, kailangan maayos yung communication skills between them and the top management kasi kailangan aware din yung top management kung anong nangyayari sa baba. Kaya kailangan may effective communication skills para both sides are aware of what is happening in the operations of the company. Fourth is managers must relinquish control. Itong managers na ito yung mga top management people. So, ikaw, tatanggalin ka ng responsibilidad, tatanggalan ka ng control over the operations. So, being human, masakit yan kay managers. Pero, sa decentralization, kailangan talagang mag-relinquish ng control. So, baka si manager ayaw niyang i-relinquish ang control niya. So, magkakaproblema yan. Disadvantage yan. Next is, or lastly is, expensive. Bakit sa expensive? Well, you need to train managers in decision-making skills. Siyempre, dito, sa personal advantage yan kapag yung managers mo marunong. Pero siyempre, para maging marunong ang manager mo, kailangan i-train mo siya. Kailangan bigyan mo siya ng proper equipment, proper training para maging effective siya sa decision-making skills. And with that, it incurs cost. And kapag may cost, expensive yan. Absorb cost of poor decisions. Now, since individual or since sub-optimize yung operation ng company, since it is decentralized, kapag may nangyaring problema, since under one umbrella kayo, under one company, walang choice ang top management, walang choice ang entirety ng company but to absorb the cost of poor decisions. Since sa isang company lang kayo. Lastly is requires sophisticated planning and reporting system. Bakit? Since hindi unified, hindi uniform yung planning, hindi uniform yung reporting system. So kasi paiba-iba eh. Sub-optimize, decentralize. So iba-iba yan kada segment. So because of that, kailangan para mas magkaroon ng goal congruence o sophisticated planning, magiging sophisticated or mas complex yung gagawing operations or gagawing planning or pag-streamline, kumbaga, ng company. And with that, it incurs expense. And mas magiging expensive siya as compared sa centralization kung saan unified na, uniformed na lahat. Kasi sa top management na lang nakadepende ang responsibility. So, yan ang advantages and disadvantages ng decentralization. So, after that, puntahan na natin si concept ng responsibility accounting. Ano ba to siya? Well, first, it is a system of accounting wherein costs and revenues are accumulated and reported by levels of responsibility. Anong meaning yan? Ang meaning lang yan, class, kung sino yung nag-incur ng costs at nag-incur ng revenues, yun lang siya yung may responsibility over that. I repeat, kung sino yung nag-incur ng cost at nag-incur ng revenue, siya yung may responsibility over that. And because ay may responsibility over that, yung accounting system that pertaining to that, sa kanya nakasalalay kung sino yung may responsibility. Kaya nga, responsibility accounting. Kung sino yung naggawa ng cost, sino yung naggawa ng revenue, siya yung may responsibility over that. Next is managers delegate decision-making authority but retain responsibility for outcomes. Basically, ito yung command responsibility. Kahit na yung nakakababa sa'yo o yung lower people ang gumawa ng decision, yung responsibility over that, nasa sayo pa rin. So, yan yung, kumbaga yung sa command responsibility. Next is reporting system that provides information about subunits and allow management to measure subunit performance, both monetary and non-monetary. So, di ba, like yung sinabi ko dito, itong sa subunit na to, siya yung nag-incur ng cost, siya yung nag-incur ng revenue, ibig sabihin siya ang may responsibility over that. Pero, yung end responsibility na kay top management pa rin. And since yung end responsibility na kay top management, kailangan niyang malaman kung maayos ba yung performance ni subunit. And ano yung performance na minimin niya? Both monetary and monetary, both financial and non-financial, both quantitative and qualitative. Now, fourth is adjusted for planning, control, and decision-making needs of each unit manager. Siyempre, pinag-usapan natin is management advisory services which pertains to us making plannings or data that will be used by the decision makers. So dito, yung responsibility accounting system, gagamitin siya ng mga taong gagawa ng decision. Yun lang yung meaning yan. And lastly, separates cost as controllable or non-controllable by the unit manager. Diba? Ang controllable, ito yung may influensya, yung decision maker or yung taong nag-incur ng cost. Ang non-controllable, gaya ng mga sunk cost, walang control over that. So, kailangan malaman kung saan cost may control si manager or si unit manager para alam kung paano maggagawa ng decision. Now, since sa pag-usapan natin ng responsibility accounting, punta tayo sa mga responsibility center. Anong responsibility center? Well, a clearly identified part or segment of an organization that is accountable for a specified function or set of activities. Meaning, ito si organization, drawing tayo, ito si organization, then within that organization, may mga responsibility center around that or within that. Kumbaga ganyan. Within the organization. And with that responsibility centers, they are accountable for, nakalagay dito, accountable for specified function or set of activities. Itong bawat segments na to, itong bawat responsibility centers na to, they are accountable for their specified functions and set of activities. Now, responsibility accounting system identify, measure, and report on activities in responsibility center. So, ang labot ng responsibility accounting system, itong si responsibility accounting, since itong bawat segments, since itong bawat responsibility centers within the organization are conducting activities, are making their unique and separate operations, papasok na si responsibility accounting system para i-identify niya, para i-measure niya, para mag-report siya sa activities na pinaggagawa ng mga responsibility centers na to. Bakit kailangan nun? Siyempre, para si top management, para si mga high-level managers, aware sila kung anong nangyayari sa mga responsibility centers na to. Para aware sila sa kung anong operations or kung anong pinaggagawa ng mga responsibility centers na to. Kaya yun yung importance ni responsibility accounting system. Now, ano-ano bang mga klase ng responsibility center within the organization? Well, first, pag-usapan natin si cost center. Ano to siya? Well, it has the authority to incur costs. Siyempre, cost center nga, di ba? It evaluates or evaluated on how well costs are controlled. Meaning, matipid ba to siya? Meaning, proper ba yung pinagagastusan niya? Hindi ba siya gastador? Or, anong magandang term doon? Yung proper ba yung expenses na in-incur niya? Revenues. No, bakit yan, sir? Well, dito, do not exist. Example, equipment maintenance center. Walang na-incur na revenue. First, exist but are not under manager's control. Example, community libraries. Ito yung mga non-controllable costs. So, since non-controllable siya, hindi natin siya binibigyan ng pansin. Bakit? Kasi, hindi tayo makakagawa ng decision based on that non-controllable cost since hindi siya under our control. Ganun lang kasimple. Kaya yung mga non-controllable costs, deadma lang tayo sa kanila. And lastly, the revenue might exist but cannot be measured, such as Research and Development Center. So, lastly, focus on variances outside acceptable range. So, anong meaning yan? Meaning lang yan, ito yung expected or budgeted cost, i-compare mo yan sa actual cost na na-incur. Kung may variance yan, either favorable or non-favorable, tingnan mo kasi baka may discrepancy sa operations ng company or baka maganda yung performance ng cost center na yan kapag favorable variance. Pero pag unfavorable, ibig sabihin may discrepancy sa operations niya, sa pag-incur niya ng cost. Now, anong mga sample na or mga examples ng cost center within the organization or within a company? Yan yung mga accounting department, legal department, advertising department, marketing department. Yung mga departments na yan, mga cost center yan sila. Bakit? Kasi ang pinagawa lang namin, hindi naman sila nag-ooperate to incur or to gain revenue or profit or investment, but rather nandiyan lang ang pinagagawa ng nila is they are incurring costs in their operations. Kaya sila ay kino-consider na cost center. Now, and to which they are being evaluated on how well they are incurring their costs, kung matipid ba sila or gastador ba sila. So, yan ang mga example ng cost center. Punta naman tayo kay revenue center. Now, ano to sa revenue center? Well, responsible siya for generating revenue. Kaya nga siya revenue center eh. Kaso lang, no control of selling price or cost. So, example, individual sales department in retail store. So, ang labot lang niya sa buhay is magbenta, is to incur revenue. Wala siyang control sa selling price or sa cost. Kumbaga, ito yung mga sales agent or yung mga individual sales department sa retail store, bibigyan lang sila ng responsibility para kumita, para magbenta. Kaya wala silang control sa selling price or sa cost. Lastly, revenue and limited cost center. Some involvement in planning and controlling costs. Siyempre, since silang nagbebenta, alam nila paano magbenta. And with that, siyempre, magbibigay sila ng opinion sa planning and controlling costs since mas aware sila sa pagbebenta ng product. Now, ano mga magagandang examples ito? Ito, nakalagay na dito. Individual sales department in retail store. For example, department store. Ano-ano mga nandyan? Ang mga revenue center within that department store, is yung women's shoes, men's garments, women's garment, kids toys, kids shoes, yan. Mga revenue center yan sila. Mga individual sales department yan sila within the retail store. Yan ang magandang example ng revenue center. Kumbaga, ang purpose lang nila sa buhay is to incur revenue. Wala silang pake sa selling price, wala silang control sa selling price, wala silang control sa cost. Ang purpose lang nila sa buhay is magbenta. Now, anong difference ni revenue center kay profit center? Well, si profit center, may responsibility siya to generate revenue. Pero, as opposed kay revenue center, etong si profit center, meron siyang authority to set the selling price. Si revenue center, wala siyang control. Pero si profit center, may control siya to set the price. It has also the responsibility to control expenses. Now, si revenue center, wala siyang control sa expenses or sa cost. Pero si profit center, may control siya over the expenses. Excuse me. Allowed to purchase at most economical price. And, since may control siya kay revenue, may control siya kay expenses, ang goal niya is to maximize the center's profit. Meaning, increase revenue while minimizing expenses, minimizing costs, which is the goal to maximize the center's profit kasi revenue minus expenses is profit, di ba? So, yun yung goal niya, to maximize revenue while at the same time minimizing expenses, minimizing costs. And with that, a profit center is being evaluated on profit variance. Meaning, ano ba itong profit variance? Meaning, ito yung target sales or target profit or expected sales, target profit. Ito yung usually nakikita natin sa mga company, mag-usap-usap sila yun sa mga drama. Target profit is equal to the actual profit. So, kung ano yung pre-project nilang profit ng company, yun yung na-achieve na profit or yung actual profit na na-achieve. Now, for any variances dyan, example, favorable variance, ibig sabihin, mas mataas yung actual profit kaysa sa target profit. Meaning yan, exceptional, magaling yung operations ni profit center. Pero pag unfavorable variance, mas mataas yung or mas mababa si actual profit as compared kay target profit, ibig sabihin may discrepancy, may lapses, or pangit yung operations ni profit center. So, recap natin, si revenue center, ang purpose niya lang sa buhay is to generate revenue, wala siyang control kay cost, wala siyang control sa selling price. Kasi profit center naman, may control siya or may responsibility siya to generate revenue, may responsibility rin siya to control cost. And considering these two, the goal is to maximize the center's profit. And as we know, profit is revenue minus expenses or costs. So, in connection to maximize that, to maximize the center's profit, ang magiging purpose niya is to maximize the revenue while minimizing the expenses, minimizing the cost. And with that, it is being evaluated on profit variance. Ano ba tong profit variance? It is to see if the target profit is equal to the actual profit. So, yan si profit and revenue center. So, dapat alam nyo yung difference nila. Now, let's jump to investment center. Ito, mas malaki to siya. Responsible for generating revenues and planning and control expenses. Now, pareho lang kay profit center. Kaso, dito na mag-start yung difference nila. It is responsible for plant assets. Meaning lang nito, ibig sabihin may responsibility or may authority si investment center to make investments on such assets, on such investment na kung saan yung goal niya or na kung saan magi-increase yung revenues na or magi-increase yung revenues or ma-minimize niya yung mga expenses niya. So, ang difference niya kay profit center is si investment center, may authority siya to make investments, to increase revenues, and to minimize costs. I repeat, ang difference ni investment center kay profit center is, si investment center, may authority siya to make investments para mag-increase yung profit and to minimize the cost. Now, bakit niya yung ginagawa? Well, ang goal niya, ito, is to maximize the rate of return on asset. Now, kung matatandaan natin na kapag nag-invest ka, siyempre may na-expect kang return, may na-expect kang benefit from that investment. Now, anong tawag sa benefit of that investment? It is the, or how do you measure the benefit from that investment? Tawag dyan, rate of return on asset. So, since nag-invest ka, nag-expect ka ng benefit. And to measure that benefit, kakailanganin mo ang rate of return on asset. Now, with that logic, or with that concept, or with that idea, siyempre, since gusto mo magkumita, since profit company ka, you need to maximize that rate of return. Meaning, you need to maximize the amount of benefit you are getting from that investment. Kaya ang goal mo is to maximize the rate of return on asset. Now, paano ba in-evaluate paano natin in-evaluate si investment center? Well, nakalagay dito. Evaluate on rate of return on assets and other performance measure. So, siyempre, titingnan mo, nare-reach ba ni investment center yung targeted rate of return niya sa asset? Kung na-reach niya, edi magaling. Kung lumalampas pa siya, edi exceptional. Pero pag hindi niya na-reach, ibig sabihin may problema sa operations niya. So, doon mo siya in-evaluate. And other performance measures. Like dito, sa revenues, sa expenses, etc. Anong mga example ng investment center? Ito yung mga divisions or subsidiaries, di ba? Ito yung mga malalaking segments within the same company or within the same organization, within one umbrella. Malalaki to sila. Now, break muna.